What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at PvP as a whole and discussing the top 15 Pokemon worth investing into. We'll be taking a look at all of the leagues and discussing the top 5 from each, so we'll be going with the Great first, Ultra, and then the Master. If you're interested in just one of those leagues, timestamps will be in the comment section below. I ended up taking this information from pvpoke.com, made a couple of adjustments to the moveset, opted out a couple of them, and of course given my own personal opinion and why you would want to use these Pokemon. If you do enjoy this episode and it is helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The first Pokemon that we have on this list is Registeel for the Great League. So Registeel is easily one of the more common Pokemon that you will see if you have access to it. It already had amazing stats, but it was always held back to some extent until it ended up getting the move Lock-On. Lock-On allows it to charge a lot of energy to get to those charged moves, and it has great coverage, good typing, everything like that. There's a reason why this Pokemon is so common, so if you can get yourself a Registeel, it is definitely worth investing, not only for the Great League, but also the Ultra, which we will cover when we get to it. Into the second position, we have AZUMARILL. AZUMARILL has a lot of things going on for it that's very helpful. If you can get it as the baby Pokemon, it's only 10,000 unlock a secondary charge move. But honestly, if you can catch it in the wild at like level 30 plus, that's going to be a safer investment to kind of go with. But AZUMARILL is commonly paired with Registeel as kind of like the #1 core for the Great League. AZUMARILL is a beast. You want to go with Bubble, Ice Beam, and Hydro Pump. You're going to see some conflicting information, so it really depends on your team composition, but I would say that this is going to be like the absolute safest bet to go with. Up next is ALTARIA. So ALTARIA is one of my personal favorites on this list for the Great League. I've been using it for like 300 or 400 battles and have really enjoyed it. It's budget to some extent, where it only costs 10,000 to unlock a secondary charge move. On the flip side though, it will be 400 candies to be able to evolve up to it. So you're going to have to catch a ton of Swablu, which is great for you because you want to look for the ideal IVs before you decide to invest into it. Up next, we have DEOXYS Defense Form. So I actually have this on my team as well and really enjoy DEOXYS. It is an absolute monster. Now, as far as its ideal moveset is concerned, we've got Counter, Rock Slide, and then Thunderbolt. So if you go over to pvpoke.com, it's not going to say Thunderbolt. It's going to say Psycho Boost. But for me personally, it ends up providing coverage against some of those water type Pokemon, especially something like an AZUMARILL. So I personally have opted to use Thunderbolt. It is a beast Pokemon. It has a ton of just ability to kind of like stay in the fight, and it is perfect for something known as a safe switch. So up next, we've got Bastiodon. So Bastiodon is one of those Pokemon that, once again, very common, and it's one of those that you're either prepared to take it down and you don't really have any problems with it, or if you're not ready to take this down, it's just gonna wipe out your team. I think Bastiodon's just one of those Pokemon that it's very polarizing in that way, but you do want to go ahead and go with Smackdown, Stone Edge, and then finally Flamethrower. And notice that you're gonna get close to perfect IVs, and the reason for that is because Bastiodon's CP just isn't very high, so you're gonna have to get close to level 40. It's probably one of the more expensive investments on this list just because it's a little bit on the rare side, but it is going to be worth it overall. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump into the next league. For the Ultra League, now this is going to be a new one that not a lot of people have talked about. CRESSELIA has always been fairly good in the Great League and in the Ultra League, but because of the shifts, the changes, the updates to movesets, the nerfs to a couple of moves, all of a sudden, a Pokemon like CRESSELIA is no longer nerfed as much. So CRESSELIA is taking on this #1 spot. You want to go with Psycho Cut, Future Sight, and then Moonblast, and then in the future it's going to have access to the move Grass Knot. I believe that is going to be an exclusive move, but let me know in the comment section below. But that's going to propel it even further. CRESSELIA is one to definitely look out for in the month of May. The next Pokemon that we have is GIRATINA Altered. So GIRATINA Altered has definitely been a beastly Pokemon in the Ultra League since the Go Battle League started. The only difference is that we saw a nerf to Ancient Power, and that really kind of changed things up a little bit for GIRATINA. So instead, one of the ideal movesets that you could go with is Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, and then Shadow Sneak. So ditching off that Ancient Power. And then keep in mind that the IVs are ideal in a 1-12-15 scenario. A monster of a Pokemon, if you're not prepared to go up against it, be prepared to be beat by it. Okay, the next Pokemon we have is Swampert. So Swampert's one of the few starters that's making this list. And if you think about it, that's very impressive for a starter Pokemon to make it into the top 5. Swampert is one of those Pokemon. So we've got Mudshot, Hydro Cannon, and then Earthquake. Hydro Cannon being that exclusive move for this Pokemon from a community day. Swampert is such a just all-around budget option, but it's also an amazing Pokemon. So definitely consider getting yourself a Swampert for the Ultra League. Up next is Registeel. So we already talked about Registeel. The only difference here is that you're going to want to try to get yourself perfect IVs because it ends up maxing out at around 2400 CP. Then, of course, you can do the Best Buddy if you want to do that. But you are going to have to do that. But it's still very dominant. You don't see it quite as much in the Ultra League because it requires a little bit more of an investment. But that does not mean it's any worse than the Great League. It just simply requires more investment and then, of course, more resources. And I finally actually got one ready for the Ultra League, so very excited about that. Up next is Armored Mewtwo. So Armored Mewtwo is one of those Pokemon, once again, that's amazing. It's just people don't necessarily have the full-on access to it. We've got Confusion, Psy Strike, and then Dynamic Punch. So Psy Strike is an exclusive move for Armored Mewtwo. So you're going to have that, unlock the secondary charge move. Luckily, with the Elite TM system, you could get yourself Psy Strike even if you don't have one right now. But it's definitely going to be worth it for a long-term investment. So now that we have covered the Ultra League, we're going to go ahead and get into the Master League. So the first Pokemon to talk about is Giratina Altered. Now, a lot of people have opted to use Giratina Origin, but because of the move shakeups, because of Pokemon having new moves added, so many things have changed in the Master League. And if you're not prepared for it, it could end up kind of catching you off guard. Giratina Altered is now going to be considered better than Giratina Origin in the Master League. You want to go with Shadow Claw, Dragon Claw, and then Shadow Sneak. So we already covered that moveset, so luckily it is the exact same. And for all of these Pokemon in the Master League, we are going to want to go with a perfect set of IVs, 15, 15, 15. Try to get as close as you can to it. Don't not use a Pokemon because it's like a 15, 14, 15 or something like that. So now we're getting into the second Pokemon. We've got Groudon. So Groudon's technically going to be a new addition to this list, and it is all because of the new move Fire Punch. So Fire Punch is an exclusive move, so you will either have to use the Elite TM to get it, or you will have had to have gotten it from the Hoenn Special Research. But regardless of that, whatever your circumstances are, this Pokemon is going to be a beast, and if you've got it, if you've got all the resources to unlock it, it's going to be a very good Pokemon to use in the Master League. Up next is just regular full-on Mewtwo. Now, we could definitely have some conversations about this with Psy Strike and Shadow Ball both being exclusive moves, but because of Elite TMs, you can easily add them onto it over time. But a lot of people are going to have discussions to say, well, what about this? What about Flamethrower? What about Thunderbolt? What about Ice Beam? You can definitely deviate from this, but as far as the simulations are concerned, Psy Strike and Shadow Ball ended up pulling off the best combination for it. If you disagree with it, that's fine. It's not going to be perfect for every scenario dependent on how your team is composed. So anyways, if we get on to the next Pokemon, we've got Palkia. So Palkia is once again a new addition, and it is because of that move Aqua Tail. So it already has Dragon Breath. That's amazing. It's got Draco Meteor. That can really punish, but it lacked that secondary move that you can either shield bait with, or you can just absolutely just spam out for some damage pretty quickly. It had Hydro Pump, for example, as the old charge move that you would want. But Palkia is definitely going to be one that you have to look out for. And luckily, Aqua Tail is just in the moveset. You don't need an exclusive move to be able to get yourself Aqua Tail. Just have to use a regular TM. Up next, we've got DIALGA. So DIALGA was definitely like number 1, number 2 in the Master League. But with all of this shift, it seems like they kind of weirdly focused on like ways to kind of counter DIALGA as opposed to nerfing something directly about DIALGA. So it has dropped a little bit into the number 5 position, but you want to go with Dragon Breath, Iron Head, and then Draco Meteor in that case. And then once again, the 15-15 IVs. Draco Meteor is just a bomb on this DIALGA. If you can get that off and you go against Pokemon's Unshielded, it's going to be lights out. Dialga has been such a core Pokemon in the Master League, and maybe you're out there just like me. I just wish they would release it back into raids or release it some way that we can get access to it, because I'm absolutely excited about being able to get this Pokemon. So that just about wraps up the video. The Pokemon that you saw throughout this episode are meant to build a team around. They are the superstars. They are the all-stars. You got to find the Pokemon that go along well with them. But I want to know what you think about these Pokemon in the comment section below. Is there a Pokemon that I missed from this list that you believe deserves to be in the top 5 from each of the leagues? Anything and everything, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.